Hey everybody, welcome to Little Boy Customs, home of the slowest F100 build in all of YouTube. That's okay. Today we're going to be taking the bed back off and getting it ready to sandblast. Actually, we're just going to sandblast it. So if you see this side of the bed where it's already kind of shiny looking, but it's got surface rust on it, I used one of Eastwood's Contour SCT tools to do this right here. And while the tool does work great, I highly recommend it. For a job this size here, we're going to go back to just regular old sandblasting and try to get this old paint off of here. The plan today is I'm going to take this bed off, unbolt it, and then move the truck out of the way, put the bed onto a homemade body dolly that I have, and then roll it outside and start sandblasting. If you missed the last episode, I did get all this welded in. It's our third brake light. It did turn out pretty good. There's a couple little areas that have some gaps in it up here at the top, right there, that are not welded in. I'm not sure if I'm just going to weld it in or leave it alone, and because the water is not going to actually go inside. There's a box made, all that good stuff. If you want to check out how I made that, check out the video linked up here somewhere, and check that video out. There is a couple of things in the bed that still need to be fixed, which we'll do after we get it off. There's that hole over there. I'm going to patch panel that right there, and then this big hole right here. Still trying to figure out a way to do the fuel system, and I've been looking online. If you have any recommendations, leave me a comment below on how I should get that all rigged up so that we can add fuel to the truck. But other than that, let's get started. Well, let's see if we can get it down without killing ourselves now.
I'm in danger!
I'm sure now it wants to work properly after I ran around like a fat man. This kid's why you should always pay attention to what you're doing. This ain't sketchy, I don't know what it is. So after several days of sandblasting, and no, it doesn't take several days to sandblast this, but I only worked on it in the afternoons after I did my primary job. The bed is finally finished, and let's do a walk around and check it out. I did sandblast the entire outside of the bed, and then I also sandblasted the actual floor of the bed. This was probably the longest part. There's lots of grease and some, maybe like a bed liner, spray and bed liner type thing of some sort, because it was all black and really, really super thick. But that took the majority of the sandblasting. The outside of it came out pretty quick and looks pretty good. Now, you'll see some surface rusting coming up already, and that's just from the different days of how long it's taken me to sandblast. I am not going to sandblast the underside of it just yet. I am going to get this ready to keep it from rusting anymore, because I'm not going to paint it right away. And so what we're going to do is we're going to get this back inside the shop, and then tomorrow morning we'll start coating this with a chemical in order to keep it from rusting anymore. And what rust has already started on it, it will actually turn it into something else to keep it from rusting. And I'll show you that chemical and all that here just shortly. All right, guys, got the bed back inside the shop here. Two other things that I went ahead and sandblasted real quick was, this is the upper part of the grill that's painted with the truck. It would have set right here along through here, bolted on. So the other thing that I sandblasted was the rock guard, or at least that's what I call it. It goes over the top of the front bumper. Let me know what you call it. So got that taken care of. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to try to treat the bed with this chemical here, and it prepares rusted surfaces for painting, pretty much is what this is. So that's what I got. I got it from I think you can get it at Ace Hardware, True Value, places like that. You can also definitely buy this stuff offline if you don't have one of those kind of stores near you. But it actually comes in these smaller bottles here, but it also comes in gallon bottles. I highly recommend buying the gallon bottle over the little stuff. The store I went to didn't have any of the gallon bottles, so they made me a good deal on the little stuff. But all I do is I have one of these containers here, that metal container type drinking container. I fill up the chemical inside there, and then take a paintbrush and pretty much just paint it onto the surface that I'm wanting to keep from having rust on it. One of the things I did do, which since I rolled it in here, I noticed more of the sawdust, or not sawdust. Since I've rolled this bed inside the cab and everything, I've noticed more of the blasting material has fallen out of the bed again. I did roll it around in the driveway a little bit, up and down the yard, that kind of stuff, and also used an air compressor to blow all the sandblasting material off of the truck. It's just, if you've ever sandblasted a car, you know it's hard to get it all off. So you can either wipe your truck down, whatever, with like mineral spirits or lacquer thinner, something like that, in order to get more dust off of it. I am not going to do that because I know that I'm going to sand this one more time before I paint it. This chemical here if it finds rust, it will kind of make it phosphate. That's the easiest way I can explain it. It makes the rust kind of bubble up on the surface, and so therefore I usually use a palm sander and just kind of palm sand the whole thing again one last time before I paint it. It does work pretty good. Let me show you what it looks like on these doors over here. Now, I primered the doors like 6 months ago, something like that, only on the top side. I never did the bottom side, but you see this dark color here? This is that chemical keeping it from rusting, and the door still has no rust on it to this day. So, and this is what it looks like before I even sand it in order to prime it. So it does have kind of a rough texture to it. I will sand this all back down and then primer it just like I did the top of the doors, and then go from there. So enough talking. Let's get to work. I'll start painting, brushing on this chemical or whatever, and you'll see pretty quickly how it goes on. It goes on kind of like a clear, wet look or whatever, and then as time goes on, it will start making the metal look black. Let's get started. One thing I forgot to say about this chemical is that it does contain an acid in it, so you want to wear some PPE, some gloves or whatever. And reason why I'm using a paintbrush is because it's just kind of easier. Plus, if you didn't know, you can get this paintbrush right here, wooden handle, just like you'd buy at Home Depot or Lowe's down there at Dollar Tree for $1. Can't beat that deal. So if you're kind of curious about what this is going to start doing, this is just a couple of minutes in, but it's already starting to dry a little bit, and so you'll see that white coming through. Some of this will start turning black, but down here where you see I couldn't actually sandblast the rust out, you can see it's actually removing that rust out of there. So that's kind of the ideal. 24 hours from now, we'll be back in the shop and start doing some more work on this particular bed in order to get it ready for paint. But I recommend 24-hour dry time on this after you've painted it on. Of course, you can always paint it on with an air gun or something like that. I just prefer to do it with a paintbrush. And if you're curious of how I learned how to do this, move on over to Rat Rod Bob's Builds, as I think the channel. He does some really cool rat rod builds. He calls it Rat Rodology, but go check out his channel. He's the one that turned me onto this chemical and told me about it, and it's actually been pretty helpful for me. So if you have a different way of prepping your metal to keep rusting from occurring before you paint, drop me a comment below and let me know what that is. Like I said, I've never painted a car before. This is my first attempt at it, so I'm just kind of learning it as I go and hope that everything turns out a-okay. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this episode here. If you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. And as always, thanks for watching. I'll show the after effects of this chemical on the next video, and we'll get going from there. Until next time, be safe. Thanks for watching.